This is Joe from Kurokuma, and you're listening to the Dan Chan Show.
I've got Joe and Jacob with me. How are you doing, guys?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Very good.
So
Thanks for having us on.
No problem, it's a pleasure. We've got Joe, who's currently in Sheffield, right? And Jacob, who is in Bulgaria.
That's correct.
Well, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that later and how you function as a band with that. So how's things been in Sheffield during the lockdown and obviously in Bulgaria, obviously taking different approaches?
Yeah, Sheffield, it's been kind of boring, but kind of I've enjoyed it, to be honest. Like it's been bad for the band and music and that kind of stuff, but I've enjoyed just chilling, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't minded it at all.
So I was a bit like that, to be honest with you. You find your creative juices flowing, or is it just box sets?
Jake?
Well, it's not really had an impact on my creativity, really. I've still got my guitar to get things down on. A lot of the things that would help me find some inspiration, like various forms of art and just being outside in the fresh air, moving my body, the things that get ideas going around in my head, along with generally bouncing off ideas off the guys. Those things have mostly still been there. Yeah. Some restrictions on our practice notwithstanding. So yeah, creativity wise, it's we've done pretty good. I mean, we wrote 2 songs for the album, 2 songs we're very pleased with while all of this was going on. So yeah, I can't complain in that regard.
We'll get into that as well. So straight into it now. A recent Metal Hammer article has you down as one of the bands to watch in 2022. Are they right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the right answer. Why?
I mean, I think it's an interesting time for us, and I think we're enjoying it because we've been building up to this for a while, for years, and maybe we left it a bit longer than we perhaps should have. We've just been releasing EPs and singles up till now, really.
Yeah.
But the album's here, and I think we have built up quite a bit of momentum over the last 7 or 8 years, as you'd expect. And so, yeah, it's good to finally unleash this, and it feels like we've kind of stepped up a gear and people might start to take us a bit more seriously.
I mean, this is what you're talking about.
It's a proper album.
So you're talking about the new release of Born of Obsidian, which is dropping on February the 4th. Now, this is your first full length. You must be buzzing, as you've just said, you've been going for so long. You must be buzzing to get your first, I would say, debut album out.
Yeah, I mean, it is the debut album, and I think we're quite perfectionistic a lot of the time, and we've just wanted to wait, really, until we were sure we kind of had a bunch of songs that we were really happy with and that were kind of part of a unified concept and theme. And yeah, we weren't in a rush, really. But it is nice because, I can already tell the response we've been getting from people online is different to what we've had over the last 8 years, to be honest. And yeah, it's good. It's nice.
Jacob?
Yeah, I totally agree. Joking about, we are ones to watch. But seriously, we've been working a long time at this and we really hope that it does pay off in terms of the fact that we're quite happy with it. We hope other people are. We've put the best efforts we can into it and we've worked very hard to get to this stage. As Joe said, maybe we did leave it a bit late, but I don't think it's necessarily gone to waste. I think the only way you can say that we've left it late is the fact that albums do tend to get more attention than smaller releases like EPs. So in terms of our popularity and presence, yeah, you could say that we've left it late. In terms of creating something that we're proud of and that will still be listened to hopefully in years to come, then we've done things just right. And like Joe said, yeah, I can tell that the response has been different. It's gone from, oh, I like you guys, to I really like you guys, what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
There's just this different level of sincerity in it. And I don't know whether that's because they particularly like the first single we've done, or we've just left it so long, or people just respect albums more than the shorter releases. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing not just how many we sell or whatever, but also how it's perceived when the dust settles, when people are putting together their end of year list to see whether it goes on there, or whether it's something that was like, oh, well, yeah, that had a few good riffs on, but it goes into the pile, which I don't think it should. But, you know, with these things, only time will tell.
I mean, I've heard Jaguar. Jaguar's a great track. And it makes me think, if you've got all these tracks before, have you just lumped all your old stuff onto the new album, or is it completely new tracks?
Well, partly yes, partly no. We do have tracks that we've had and we've just not included. We could have put together an album a long time before now just by cobbling things together. But by a mixture of it being intentional and more organic, we've ended up with an album that has a mixture of old and new songs, but that all fit together in some strange way. And I'm quite proud that no two songs on this album sound the same, which, let's be honest, you can't say about a lot of metal bands' output. So I think that the ones we've written more recently and the ones we've chosen from our older selection of songs, some of which we have been playing for years live, I think it's ended up with quite a good product at the end of it, a good unified piece of art.
Yeah, I mean, how was the recording for you? I mean, were there any delays due to the pandemic? And tell us about the Sanford Parker link-up, because you were due to go to the States to record this, I believe.
Yeah, we were.
That'd have been a sweet trip, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, so before the pandemic hit, we had a UK tour booked in, and we had a US tour booked in, and we had a Scandinavian tour booked in. And all of those just, you know, obviously went to the UK one hit us quite badly financially. And it was just very, very bad timing. Basically, kind of the UK was starting to react the week that this tour was meant to happen. And it put us in a really bad situation. Yeah, we lost money. We made a lot of it back through a fundraiser, did an online stream. But yeah, the US tour was something we were really looking forward to, and we were going to start it all off by recording this album with Sanford Parker in Chicago. Obviously, we were really excited about that. And yeah, as kind of the pandemic went on, we quickly realized it just wasn't going to happen. But like I say, because we are 7 years at that time into the band, we just knew that we just couldn't really leave it any longer. We didn't want to wait till things like truly calmed down. We kind of wanted to make it happen when we could. So we stayed in touch with Sanford. He was up for coming out to the UK. And yeah, luckily we kind of found a window in October where he could fly out and there weren't really any problems. And we were able to go down to London, record at someone I know, a studio down in London. And yeah, we made it work, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't like without risk or stress, but yeah, it happened, and I'm really glad we made it happen.
Absolutely. Now, where do you get your influences from, and what are the themes behind the tracks that you write?
Jake?
Well, I'm a music nerd, as I think a lot of people in bands are, and yeah, I mean, there's going to be a primary influence, isn't there? In this case, it's metal. You know, narrowing it down, you could say doom sludge. But I was just finished up doing a podcast earlier today about Rage Against the Machine, and one of the things I mentioned on there was that they're one of my very, early favorite bands, and that's a great portion of the power of their music comes from that rhythm section and just that kind of driving mid-tempo groove that you get all the way through. That's completely unstoppable. And now I'm not saying that trying to sound like Rage Against the Machine or whatever, but it's that idea that I didn't get that love for that kind of mid-tempo stomp that we've got now from Sleep or whatever. I got it from places like that. I didn't get my love of the psychedelic elements of our music from, again, I don't know, like Windhand or whatever. I got it from, bands like Can or even Funkadelic. And it's the way that you take these elements from everything that you listen to of your life that you fall in love with and you just stick them together. Even a band like Gordon's, for example, which is just a case of, absolute craziness. How can you take something like that and put it in your own music? There's a great risk that you end up being not very cohesive when you do something like that. And the difficulty is channeling all those things into something that does sound, decent and digestible. And it's not just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. So yeah, I mean, I can't speak for the other guys. I've got my own influences, we all have, but thankfully in the writing process and how we have a band dynamic, we've made it work, and that's something that I'm very grateful for these two guys that I'm playing with for being able to do.
Does it come easy to you? Is it easy to write these tracks? I mean, some of them, I mean, Jaguar was over 8 minutes long. Is it easy to do that?
No,
Jaguar wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy track, that one, was it?
No, and it's always felt like it's on the verge of not going off the rails, but there's something very, I'm not going to say unsettling, that's not the right word, but something that's you're never quite comfortable with playing it live for various reasons. I can only speak in my capacity as a vocalist and guitarist, but there's always something that feels like it could go wrong if you're not careful with it. I suppose like some kind of ritual itself. If you don't get every step in that order, you'll summon the wrong demon and it'll end up eating you. But in terms of writing, like I said, no, it's not easy, or we would have more of them. And there are a fair few songs that we have been writing, got partway through, and we've just had to throw away, or at least ditch 80% of and take one element of it to start again with something else. In fact, we've just done that with a song that we're writing at the moment. But I know a lot of it's quality control, and that's why we haven't got more songs and why we haven't done an album sooner. Lyrical
wise, you say that you draw a lot of influence from Latin and South American for rhythms and the music. What about the lyrics? Where do you draw from that? Is that on a similar path?
Yeah, I mean, this album, it has been interesting, I think, because there is a huge difference really between South American and then Central American, really, if you want to get down to it. And I think we wanted to do this respectfully, and we wanted to do it with an appropriate amount of research and just doing it all right, really, especially because we're not from that part of the world ourselves, And so with this album, we kind of thought, right, let's give it a unified concept. And it just kind of made sense. Both Jake and myself, I think, we're kind of interested in kind of ancient cultures, and for me, it's definitely the Mexican stuff like Aztecs and Olmecs and things like that. And so for me to write song lyrics that go with songs in this style, it is very easy. And I think, me and Jake have written the lyrics. We've kind of shared them for this album, and you do a bit of research and you learn something, and it's interesting, it's fun, and you get inspired, and I like it. I enjoy it, and I think Jake does too.
I'm going to say there's always been a bit of a divergence in how Joe and I write our lyrics. For Joe is mostly kind of more of a literalist approach, whereas me, I get a bit more poncy with it. I like to ask why. Okay, so you've got a theme of it, like, why are you talking about this? Okay, so it does this. Why is that interesting? Why are you writing about it? And so for me, part of sort of area of interest for me is the more psychological elements of what these things say about being a human being. And it comes back to a lot of the time to things like Jungian archetypes and similarities you find between human behavior from however many thousands of years ago, how disconnected from, the rest of the old world, you could say, compared to the new world, and look for things that really show you what it is to be a human being and what makes that wonderful and terrible and beautiful and ugly, and just how different, just how you can identify that. And so I like to kind of push more in that direction. And I think with this album, we've sort of managed to marry it. That's what gets me excited with lyrics, and that's why I write them. It's more of a examination element of things.
Yeah, I get that. So how did you guys get together and decide upon the stylings which you were offering up? I mean, you've taken 7 years to get an album out. Was it always that intention, or has there been issues down the road, and why so long?
Like I say, for me, I think it boils down to the fact that we are perfectionists, and we try and keep the standard high, and that's always been kind of an unspoken kind of motto for us. Like, we just never want to put anything out because it's expected of us, or because I don't know, because it fits into the timeline or some kind of promotion cycle, really. Yeah, I think it's just the fact that, like Jake said, if we're not happy, if we're not completely all happy with the song, then we just can it.
Yeah.
And so it does take a while when you're working like that. But I think the end result is hopefully better doing it that way. Again, not to kind of bring out a cliche, but we really do try to do things that are kind of a bit outside the norm. And I think that keeps it interesting for us. That's probably why we do it. But I think we always wanted to make an album, but it was almost like a running joke. It was like, nah, we're still not ready yet, are we? And I do think because we've tried to bring in so many kind of perhaps disparate elements into our sound, and we have used EPs over the years to kind of experiment in all these different directions. If you listen to all of our different EPs, I think there's quite different sounds on each one. And for me, we were kind of experimenting and seeing, oh, well, we enjoyed that. That worked. That was good. And I think they're all lessons that we've learned. And yeah, then all of a sudden we just kind of realized, right, let's do it, ready now. And everything kind of came together like that.
Well, it seems like you're doing everything right, because I was going to talk about genres, and not a lot of bands like being put in pigeonholes, but you've got doom, the sludge, the metal, the rock elements. Where do you feel you stand? And I read recently, I think it's something to do with you guys, that there's a lot of bands that there's like 10 a penny doom and sludge bands, but you guys are breaking the mold and going that extra mile. You just said that you're doing things differently, and so we can expect big things from you guys from that.
Okay. Well, every time I talk about doom and the scene that we're in, I've gone about this ad nauseum, really. I find that doom, along with black metal, are the two areas in the metal landscape that are the most absolute ripe for experimentation and pushing the genre forward in weird and amazing ways. Yeah. Just it gives you so much more of a blank canvas that something like thrash or death or grind does, for example. You can experiment so much more with song lengths, with textures, with styles, with dynamics, with taking things in very left field direction. I mean, you can with these other genres as well, but it just doesn't work. You go outside the confines of what defines a genre so quickly. And so for me, it's always been especially tragic that you do hear so much in our area of music, in doom or sludge or whatever, just the same stonery sounds, just the same fuzz, the same pentatonics, the same tritones. And I really do think that it's especially sad that you've got an opportunity to really do something more with it. And it really doesn't take much. I mean, some of our songs, they really don't push the boat out all that much compared to some of our other stuff, but they're still regarded in that same way. And for me, that's something that's always been a driving force. Well, if I'm going to be doing this, then just playing it isn't enough. I need to be taking it forward in some way. I need to bring it something new, whether that's working or not. We've at least got to try it. And I think we've done that pretty well. I think people pick up on it. And I want to keep on doing that, because even in the area that we're doing, I think, we're just getting better and better as a band. Every song we write is more exciting in some way, even if it may not be like as good as the last one. But we're getting better as writers. Everything we do is pushing forward, and we're a better band now than we were when we wrote the last couple of songs on the album. And that's the interesting thing about release cycles and stuff, is that if you're a band that's growing and moving forward, then the release you just put out is you a year or two ago. It's not the band you are right now. And so that for me is an incredibly exciting thing. It's the reason why I want to keep making music with this band, because I see amazing things should it continue.
Cool. Now, show-wise, have you been able to do many shows in the last year or so? And I saw that you played Bloodstock. How was that?
Yeah, Bloodstock was a really good day out, because it was after a long break, obviously. I mean, I think by that point, we'd perhaps, since the start of kind of the UK going into restrictions, I think we'd perhaps done 2 shows at the Black Heart in London. In fact, one wasn't a show, it was a live stream, and the other one was, a really socially distanced show. So we really hadn't played a show for quite a while, over a year, a proper one. And I don't know. Speaking for myself, it was one of them where you kind of just get wrapped up in getting there and getting your gear on stage and doing everything right. And then I sat down at my drums stool, and then I'm like, right, oh yeah, we're playing a show now, and this is what it's like. And it was our biggest show ever. You know, there was probably about 1,000 people in that tent, and it was good. The crowd were really good that day, and I think we played really well. Yeah, it was definitely up there in terms of, you know, best gigs, and it felt good, and it meant a lot to me, and it just really reminded me, this is why you're doing this. You know, this is what it's like on a good day. And
are there more of those shows to come? I mean, what's on the horizon?
Yeah, we've got 3 shows booked in at the end of next month. We've announced 2. We're going to announce the final one very soon. We're just doing like a weekender, basically, for the album launch in London, Sheffield, and Liverpool. And then we've also got 1 festival appearance booked in Raw Power Festival, again in London.
Now, if you could tour with 3 other bands, who would it be? You could have a couple each.
I think I'd like to tour with Primus. Jake, your turn.
Tennis, go on, back forth.
Oh dear, now this is the problem with being a music nerd. It's just you're absolutely drowning in it, aren't you? I don't know. I'm going to have to say Faith No More, because I love them so much, and I would just love to be in their presence, even if they probably hate my music, because they're those kind of guys who wouldn't be afraid to say it either.
What's on the band's bucket list? You know, show-wise, aspirations, etc. Do you want to stay underground? What do you want to do?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, we're not a huge band. We never will be a huge band. We appeal to like a certain type of doom fan, a certain type of music nerd generally, which is what I've always, I suppose, wanted to go for, because it's nice to be bigger. It's nice to have the numbers and shift the units or whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, what makes me the most happy is having certain compliment from a certain type of fan who I know what their relationship with music is, and to know that the music I create fits in positively in their estimation is just very powerful to me, whether they realize it or not. But apart from that, just things like recording with Sanford Parker, who's probably the one producer in the world who I would have, you know, chosen to be able to work with. We've played in Japan. We've shared the stage of so many bands that are just absolutely fantastic that I've even lost track of a lot of their names. I couldn't even think about it anymore. There's always more you can do. Played overseas, we've done tours. I guess playing the US would be, be a nice thing on top of that. But really, I've done a lot of what I really want to, and now it's just surely for the love of creating music.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with what Jake just said, really. I genuinely think we've kind of done so much stuff that we know has been great, and it's meant a lot to us. And it's, stuff, like going to Japan that bands at our level perhaps will never get to do. And I'm really grateful for that. And it is kind of like anything else from this point is a bonus. And so it is nice that things seem to be picking up, because it's like, well, I wonder what's going to happen next. We just want to keep, doing stuff that is outside the box. Like we've been offered a tour in Mexico, we've been offered one in Russia, and for me, it's going to them places that are perhaps slightly more obscure that I would like to do. And I think we've already got, we're approaching having enough music for a second album. Just keep going, but try not to plan it too much. Yeah. Just enjoying
it organically. And finally, describe the band in 3 words, one each, and then another one, Joe.
Describe the band in 3 words. Psychedelic is really the main one for me.
All right, Jacob, you have one.
Confounding.
Metal. Keep it like that. Well, thanks so much, guys, for joining me on the show. Good luck with the release and the shows that follow. I'm looking forward to seeing your progress over the next year and beyond.
Thanks a lot.